Hi everybody, I'm Corinne Blackstone and welcome to my craft room. I'm so happy to have you today. In today's video, we are going to be testing out a bunch of waterproof stickers. We're going to be trying Cricut brand. We are going to try Small Smile. We're going to try, I think it's pronounced Joyiza. We also have HTV Ront, Nito, and what I believe is pronounced Weeloo, but I could be way off. But we're going to try all 6 of these brands, and I'm going to rank them on a couple of different things, which I'll show you in just a second. I'll also link everything down below if you want to check out any of these brands. We're going to do 2 different tests. We're going to do one where they're laminated and one where they're not, because truly if they're waterproof stickers, they shouldn't necessarily need the laminate, but that laminate can sometimes trap water under it and destroy the sticker if they're not actually waterproof. If you haven't seen my laminate video, I will link that down below as well, because I think that one is pretty eye-opening to the different types of stickers and why you want to make sure you're buying the right type for the right product that you're using. At the end of the video, I will rank all of them based on the values that I'm going to show you here in just a second, that we have a little bit better of a thought process on what I feel these stickers are and the type of product that they are. So be sure to stay tuned for that at the end. So without further ado, let's get started. We're going to have a few things that we are going to rate this waterproof sticker on. Number 1 being color, how bright, how vibrant, does it look good? Always an important one. Cut, how well did it cut on the machine? How well does it look once I've placed it on to our blank? Quality, do they feel good? Do they feel like something you would want to give to someone or sell? Adhesive, how well do they stick? Do they feel like they're going to stay on the blank that you put them on? And value, how much is each sheet based on how much I paid for my stickers? Now, of course, that can change a little bit depending on where you buy them from, if you use a coupon, if they're on sale, but this is just based on what I spent on mine. To test these waterproof stickers, I'm going to use 2 images and I'm going to do the stickers all on the same sheet. One set's going to be laminated and one set won't be. So I'm going to show you how I'm going to set this up so that I can print this, laminate, do test cuts without wasting a lot of material. The first thing I want to do is I'm going to upload my images. So I'm going to click upload, and then I'm going to go here to where it says upload image. I'm going to drag and drop the image that I want to use. Now for this, I do want to use things that have quite a bit of color. So the first one I'm going to use is this cat licking a lollipop. I just thought these were really unhinged and funny. So we're going to use these, and they're super colorful. Having that black and that color is going to really help us see how waterproof these actually are. Now, all I'm going to do here is I just have to click apply and continue for this. And then I want to choose flat graphic because we're going to print and cut this. So we want it to be a full color image. Now I am going to need to add an offset because we do have some really thin pieces here with the little whiskers. We could delete them if we wanted to, which maybe we should. So if we want to do that, let's hit cancel. And we're going to just upload that. And I'm going to show you how to erase those whiskers. We don't really need them for this test. And it'll help us kind of get a better sticker design out of this because I really want to see how waterproof these actually are. So what I'm going to do is when I click continue and I come over to this screen, I can actually delete these whisker pieces. I'm going to use this erase tool and I'm going to zoom in on my image and I'm just going to get rid of these whiskers. Now, if this is not like the perfect gotten rid of piece, I'm okay with it. It's going to be fine if it cuts like a little divot in them, but that's going to be a lot better than having these itsy bitsy tiny pieces. And I don't really want to have to add any more of an offset than it already has with this little black outline, because I do really want that water to be able to get into there and like touch it. So I'm going to go ahead and just delete these. And you can see all I'm doing is using my mouse to kind of get rid of these little extra pieces here. Now I will say that this can get a little bit funny when you're zoomed in this much, but you can see I've got some whiskers up here I need to get rid of, and then I just need to finish the other pieces over on that edge, and I'll get those in just a second. But I'm just going to do this. Now I did end up with a little divot in his head, and that's okay. I'm not really worried about that, but I just want to get rid of all of these like little itsy bitsy bits so that we're not trying to cut around them. This is something you can do even if you weren't testing these for watercolor. If you didn't want to add a big offset to this, you can just go through and delete. Now you can see it's being silly and it's like getting rid of pieces and then bringing them back. Sometimes Design Space does this where it just goes a little off the rails. Now I need to scooch over to the side here So what you're going to do is you can hold your space bar and then you click and drag and you can move it. And then I can erase these little pieces. I'll zoom back out and just make sure there's not any other like little whisker pieces. That looks pretty good. I'm fine with that. I'm going to click apply and continue, and I'm going to go ahead and choose the flat graphic again, click continue, and then this is going to be where you put like any tags or anything. I'm not going to do any of that. And then we're just going to upload it over into Cricut Design Space. Now it's going to put it directly in the canvas. I'm actually going to do 2 different images for this so that we get a little bit of like a bright color, and then we have one that's a little more lighter color. So I'm going to upload that second image. I'll do the same thing. If there's any whiskers, I'll get rid of them, and then I'll show you how we're going to set this up. I've got our 2 stickers. Now you can see that they are absolutely gigantic, which we don't want. I'm going to go ahead and make these quite a bit smaller. I'm going to make them about 2 inches. That way it's not giant. It won't take up a ton of our space on our sticker paper, but it's still going to give us a really good idea if they're going to be waterproof or not. I might go like closer to 2.5. Let's do 2.5 for both of them. And that way we can get like a really good look. Now I am zoomed out quite a bit. I'm zoomed out to like a lot. So let me zoom back in so they won't look quite as small. Now that I have both of our little designs here, which they're so cute, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get them a little closer together. They don't have to touch. You don't want them touching. And we are going to use the bleed option on these since they do have a little bit of color around the edges. And that way any color is going to push out. So you don't want them too close together, but this should be a decent amount of space between the 2. I'm going to select both of my items, and all I'm going to do is flatten them. And that tells Design Space that we're going to print them exactly like how they're sitting. You could use attach as well, but I just like to use flatten. Now I am going to save this, and I'm going to save it. I'm going to call this waterproof test. That way I know what I'm using these for. And I'm just going to save to waterproof test. Now I'm going to print all of these on the same print settings because I want to just make sure that everything is very much the same. So how am I going to print these on the same sheet so that I can laminate one side and still do test cuts? Let me show you really quick. If I hit make, you're going to see that this isn't going to take up a lot of our page. So I'm going to print it one time facing this way. Then I'm going to put the printer paper in backwards so that it will print down here in this lower corner. One of them I'm going to laminate and one of them I'm not. Now, even with the registration marks, I think if I hit continue, it should show you basically what it's going to look like. Ignore that. But if you look here, I hate that. If you look here, you can see that the registration marks are not going to take up the entirety of our sheet. So we're going to be able to test cut right here on this edge. I wish I could point to it, but every time I move off, it'll take it away. But I can do it right along that right side, and then down on the bottom section, I can do it right along the left side. Because we're going to try to make sure that we're just going to do a die cut on these because we want to make sure that they're going to, come off the sheet. A die cut's just going to be the easiest way to do this, but I'm going to need to make sure that whatever cut setting I use is going to cut through the material and the laminate for the laminated ones, and then just the material for the regular ones. So once we've done that, I'm going to show you it in the printer as well so you can kind of get an idea of how I'm doing it. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to click send to printer. Again, it's going to show you kind of where your sensor marks are, and I'm going to hit next. Now from here, I'm going to make sure that I have my inkjet printer selected, which is what we're going to use for this project. And then I'm going to leave the bleed on because remember I said they have a little bit of a color on the edge. And then I'm going to use my system dialog for this. Now, when I use system dialog, it's going to allow me to change those printer settings so that we can make sure we get a really good print. So these are our printer settings here. What you're going to do is, again, make sure the correct printer is selected, and you're going to go to preferences. Now, under preferences is where we're going to do a few things to change to make sure that our sticker paper is going to give nice, vibrant colors. So I'm going to change my paper type. Now, all the ones that I purchased are matte paper because I wanted to make sure, again, that I was kind of using similar products so that you could really get the idea. So everything I have is a matte finish paper. At least they claim to be. So it'll be interesting to see kind of how they come off and look. I don't know about the Cricut one because it doesn't say whether it's matte or glossy, but we're going to go ahead and give it a shot. I literally just bought all the ones that said waterproof. I tried to get matte. So anyways, what I like to do is I'm going to use I'm going to use presentation paper matte. not premium. You want to use presentation paper matte, change your quality from standard to high, and then you want to make sure that color is selected. One more setting is under more pref or more options, and you want to turn off your high-speed print. That's going to prevent it from putting a lot of lines in it because it skips over some lines when it's printing really fast. So that's going to give you your best print options. Now I have, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 brands to try. So I'm going to have to print this 12 times. Now I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to print these out. I will show you one of them printing so that you get an idea of how I'm going to flip the page so that you can see that both will be on the same piece of paper. It just makes more sense for testing to do it that way. So let's go ahead over to the printer. Now it's really important to know which way your printer prints onto your paper for this. So for me, the bottom of my paper is where it starts the print. So when I put my paper back in to print the next one, I want to make sure that the first print is at the top. I hope that makes sense. But that way you can use the same sheet of sticker paper to test. And this is actually great if you want to do a couple different things. Maybe one of your items is going to be laminated, one isn't. It's not going to take up the whole sheet. This is a great way that you can use to save some of that sticker paper. Now remember I said that we were going to do a test cut. I want to just test cut. This is the Cricut brand. I didn't label it because it does have the logo on the back. But I'm going to put a little piece of the laminate sheet over on the side here, if I can peel this off. Now I'm going to use the Frisco laminate sheets for these just so that it's all the same sheet. And oh my gosh, I can never get this one apart. One of the things I don't love about this one. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this laminate sheet down so that we can see if it'll cut through. I'm going to use the heavy cardstock setting. That should honestly work for all of them. This one is honestly the worst to get apart from the backing. It drives me nuts. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to place this down, and I don't really matter where it is, just so long as it's over on the side, which is where I'm going to test cut that little star. So once I've got this down, you can see, I don't know if you guys can see it real well, but there's that little glossy spot. That's our laminate. Now I will laminate these stickers when we go to actually cut everything. I just want to see if this will cut through on the heavy cardstock setting, because like I said, that cutting should work for everything. So let me grab the machine and get this loaded. I've got the star all set up. It should cut right over here, which will be out of the way, and then we're just going to make sure that it cuts through. Because like I said, I'm going to die cut all of these just to make life a lot easier. Now all I did was just cut out a little star. I didn't do anything too crazy. So I'm just going to gently remove this, and it should cut through. It did not. So now that we know that, we obviously need to use a heavier setting. It cut through okay, but not great. So I would use a slightly heavier setting when I'm doing the laminate sheets, especially with the Cricut, because the Cricut's pretty thin. The rest of them are kind of what I would say like medium. Now I can always just do double cuts as well, but I'm going to go ahead, get all of the laminate put on, which you guys don't need to watch me do. I'll put the video of where I tested laminates down below for you. One side will have laminate, and it's going to be really easy to tell since these are matte stickers, and then one side will be the matte. We'll get everything cut out, and then we're going to be able to test and see how waterproof these really are. We are ready to cut. Now I am using a green mat, but this one is not super sticky, so it's going to be fine. And what I'm going to do is I have some envelopes, and I'm going to label these with each of the brands so that I can make sure to keep my stickers in like order, because a lot of them don't have anything on the back, but I did label them here when I printed them so that I knew what brand it was. So this is what I think is pronounced Weeliu. I'm not sure. It's Weliu, and I'll show you the packaging. So that's this one here. Now I'm going to cut all these just in succession so you don't have to like watch it. I'll do it in like super speed, but what I'm going to do, and I'll just explain to you first what happens. I'm going to load the paper. This is set to heavy cardstock. It's going to read these registration marks, and it's going to cut out the sticker. Once it's done with that, I'll take this off the mat. I'm going to flip it, and then I'll cut the ones with the laminate on it next, put them in the envelope labeled, and then that way everything's organized. Then we'll find something to stick them to so that we can test the waterproofness of the sticker. closely, you can see that these stickers are not cutting well. So I decided to do a calibration in the middle of cutting these, which you'll see here in just a second. But what kills me is I did the calibration and I actually did 3 calibrations and it never fixed the problem. So it was definitely a glitch within Cricut Design Space. Now, it's going to happen. Every once in a while, you'll have an issue, and that's totally okay. But I want to remind you that when you have an issue, make sure that you send feedback through Cricut Design Space. They can't fix the problem if they don't know the problem exists. So again, these cut a little bit off, but for what we're doing, they don't need to be perfect. So it's totally fine. But if you run into the problem, just let Cricut know. I'm going to use this acrylic piece. It's a back from something I used before. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the stickers down and I'm going to label them. Now I want to use these ones because they're super colorful. These ones are super colorful. So this is going to be the Cricut brand first. I'm going to put them down. I'll label them with the Sharpie. I'll make sure that we know which one's which. We'll make sure we have a picture of this at the end just in case the Sharpie washes off. But all I'm going to do is just take each of the stickers, peel them off, and put them on to this acrylic piece of plastic here. That way we're going to be able to see if these really are waterproof, because that's really what we're here to do. Now, I will admit that the Cricut cut these absolutely horrifically. If you watched and paid attention, you'll have seen that I did a calibration in the middle of cutting these, trying to fix it. The calibration was perfection, but the actual cuts that it was doing were really messed up. So being that as it may, we are going to just have to deal with the fact that these are really cut very badly. Such is life, and we're just going to kind of move on with it. So I'll go ahead and get all these put on. This is the Small Smile brand. Put these on, and then what we'll do is we will get this under some water. Now remember, I have 6 of them, so I want to try to fit all of them on here. So I think I'm going to need to make a row of 4. So we're going to go ahead and get this all put together, and then we will test this out under the water. Put these under a lukewarm stream of water just to kind of simulate what it would be like if they were, washed, or if they were to get wet, if they're on like a water bottle or something. I'm going to push this into a bunch of different positions just so that I get the stickers wet all over, because remember, we have some that are laminated and some that are not. And I feel like that's going to maybe make a difference, but I can't wait to see how these come out. Now I do let these dry for a little bit by themselves. That way, if any water's on the edges, it can seep into the sticker. Now, I did let these air dry for a while just so that any water could seep under the sticker and see what would happen. But honestly, they all held up really good. Now, in just a moment, I will go over the full ratings with you for each brand, but I wanted to have a visual for that so that you could really see what we're talking about. But honestly, I would say that you really couldn't go wrong with any of these stickers. They do seem to hold up really well as far as water is concerned. If you saw my laminate video, you'll see what I mean about when water seeps under the laminate and under the sticker and how bad it can be. But honestly, these held up so nicely. The color looks really good. I think they are really good quality, and I'm not sure that you could go wrong with any of them. Let's go over the final ratings. I'm going to go 3rd, 2nd, and 1st place for each category. So in color, Small Smile got 3rd place. Cricut got 2nd. Their color was actually pretty good. I was surprised. And in 1st place comes Nito, which was no surprise to me. Their stickers are great. Now for cut, 3rd place is going to go to Cricut. They cut pretty well, but not perfect. And 2nd place goes to Nito. Again, cut really, really well, but not exactly perfect. And in 1st place was HTV Ront. They cut so well, the lines are perfect. Quality-wise, I feel like this one, Cricut did pretty well, but just not as good as I would have liked. In 2nd place comes in to Weeloo. I was really surprised with how well those feel and how quality. And Small Smile got 1st. Those feel so good. Now, as far as stick with the adhesive, in third place comes in Neato. They stick, but I don't feel like they're perfect. Second place goes to Joyiza, which had a really good adhesive. And in first place is Cricut, who actually had a very nice adhesive to their stickers. Now, value-wise, Neato sticker paper is going to be about $1.70 per sheet, with Cricut following up with $1.25 per sheet. HTV Ronk comes in at 70 cents per sheet, with Joyiza at 56 cents per sheet, followed by Small Smile at 49 cents per sheet, and then Wheelu at 39 cents per sheet. Now, again, this was what I paid for them, but they might go on sale, so maybe some of the bigger brands might be a little less expensive. But I do feel like for the price, the quality is fantastic with these, and I don't think you could go wrong with any of them. If you have any questions about this or any of the other things we do here on this channel, please let me know in those comments down below. I'm always happy to answer those for you. I'll link all of the sticker paper that we used down in the video's description if you want to try out any of it for yourself. As always, I hope you all have a wonderful day and happy crafting.